into ThinkTech Friday. We're raising public awareness about technology, energy, globalism, and diversification. I'm your host, Attilia Seress. Today, we're here to talk about tech education in Hawaii. Hawaii is well known as one of the, toughest education systems in the country in terms of being competitive on a global platform. Roz Burton-Torres from Junior Achievement of Hawaii is here at the studio to discuss how new technology is helping our children keep up with the education system on the mainland and across the world. Thank you for joining us in the studio, Roz.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, a little background on Roz. She is the president of Junior Achievement of Hawaii. She's been the president for about 1 year, and she's been here on Oahu and coordinates all the island activities that occur with the organization.
Yes.
Later, we're going to be joined by Lisa Gill. She's the digital learning component. She's the chief academic officer for Junior Achievement, and she's going to offer us some insights about the technical portion of what it takes to make all this work. But before we jump into that, we actually have two quick things. The first is a current event. So you sent this over to me, Roz. Now, this is about the training of next generation cybersecurity warriors, an event that occurred over here, just last week at the Honolulu Community College. It's the first ever Cyber Patriot Boot Camp. Tell me a little bit about this event.
Well, in looking at what the high school teachers are doing and really getting on board with all the different technology that's available out there, and looking at cyber security as well as even the STEM career pathways, which I think we definitely need more awareness here in Hawaii. We have a great opportunity to grow not only the STEM career pathways, but then also educate our kids that there's a lot of technology that you can do right here.
Yeah, and it's just starting, and I think this was very fascinating because they were focused on cybersecurity in particular. I haven't seen that before.
I actually haven't either, specifically.
It's fairly new, and this is good because this preps our students to enter the probably a huge upcoming industry, which is protecting our shores from digital attacks.
Yes, and you keep hearing more and more about that in the news as well.
Well, and I think we're going to hear more and more as we start to discover what's happening abroad. I'm sure you heard about what happened with Cisco, and yeah, exactly. So there was some malware implanted in their software of their routers, and then that was sold to the military. And next thing you know, they can turn them off remotely. That's tough.
Yeah.
Well, so is this going? Are they going to have another Cyber Patriot Boot Camp maybe next year at KCC?
I am actually not sure. I hope they do, because we definitely can use all the education and the awareness out there and growing that community. So.
Well, and I really hope that it will help educate our young people to get started with that too. And so that was our first item on the agenda. Now, our second, of course, is App of the Week. Now, this week's App of the Week is something that's non-educator related. And have you ever gotten something from Amazon where there's that bubble wrap and you just have to keep popping all the bubbles over
a little addictive?
Well, in going to the Blue Startups, they had a little presentation. They're all Tetris crazed. So I decided to see what Tetris app is available in the App Store that would be interesting. And I found this one called Tetris Blitz. I was showing it to you just before the break, and those of you who are tuned in online at thinktechhawaii.com can see this app. And can see me showing it to the camera, actually. And it's a very fun new Tetris, new spin on Tetris, where you don't actually have to rotate the little blocks around. You just press the button and it shows up. And then if I do this long enough, I'll forget that I'm on the air. So it's a dangerous application and will likely keep you up nights and nights. But it's a very fun little app, and I highly recommend it. It's very exciting. Now, I'm going to put this down before I just decide to play this instead of talk about our interview. So Tetris Blitz is the app of the week. Now, before Lisa jumps onto the air with us, why don't you tell me a little bit about how Junior Achievement is using technology to put our children on a level playing field as those on the mainland? Because those on the mainland have computers too.
Yes.
Surprisingly.
Yes.
So what's different here?
Being able to, a lot of the technology that is available through Junior Achievement have actually not been implemented in Hawaii. So for instance, we have our virtual finance park. And basically, kids will actually learn virtually how to manage budgets, learn about debits and credits, and learn about their personal finances and making wise decisions, and really come to grips as to the career that they choose, the education that they need, and all the dollars and cents entailed with that, as well as all the expenses for utilities and...
Well, back up a minute here. Why do my kids need to know finance?
I think there was
That's
an
a valid
article.
question.
Well, you know, also in the news, they're talking about how more and more kids are staying with their parents longer and it's after college. So unless you want to have your kids stay with you past college years, getting them on board and understanding their finances so they can make their own financial decision and push them out to the door a little faster.
I don't know. I kind of like having my kids around, but you could be right. That could change my mind once they turn into teenagers.
Yes, or even after college, where they should start having their own careers. So there's definitely different pockets of kids, but you know, being able to teach your kids about personal finance and having wise decisions. There's so many different options. A lot of our programs talk about options of houses. You can go with really cheap or really expensive. We have different options for clothes. You can get, you know, secondhand clothes or, you know, high-end designer clothes. There's a cost involved with that. And usually with kids, it tends to come from mom and dad, but for them to start being responsible for that and being able to make better choices and looking at their budgets, we won't have as much of a debt issue as we're finding with our new generations coming out of college now.
So really the point behind this program is not just to sell finance classes to young children, but also to give us a leg up. So what kind of classes is the mainland? Because I assume this is a national organization.
Yes.
So is the request for finance training at an early age as prevalent on the mainland as it is here?
Yes, and actually more and more states are starting to have requirements to have financial literacy within the schools. Unfortunately, Hawaii is not one of those states. Would love to get that moved forward though.
Why are they doing that?
You know, it really goes back to making financial literacy relevant. Because kids may go to school and they may learn math, but they may not see the real connection for everyday decisions and real life scenarios. So with personal finance, and we start very young. I mean, even our programs are from K through 12. So even at kindergarten, we start to introduce them about money and the different decisions that you can make with money, and then also incorporate the math component. So
tell me a story about someone who's taken this finance class and something has changed.
Something has changed.
Something changed.
You know, it's interesting because...
You must have lots of stories.
I do have lots of stories. And it's great because, you know, I started out as a volunteer many years ago.
Oh.
And my son, I was involved with a company that was a big supporter of Junior Achievement. And I was able to go into the classroom and teach his class. And selfishly, I wanted to see how my kid was doing in class, and also knowing what, you know, the materials that JA provides is really great quality and information that I want my kid to know. So I made sure that every year he continued his education, I would go and approach his teacher and say, can I teach Junior Achievement? So I continued with that. So going with your question, I can use him as my example.
There you go. Sure.
So what I have actually done is having him look at the prices. When he was young, we would talk about needs and wants in one of the programs. And so I would take that and then also bring him to the grocery store. He could pick whatever he wanted in the grocery store. It just had to meet two criteria. One, it had to be 10 grams of sugar or less. So it really knocked out a lot of...
most of the store.
It does.
Everything in the middle. Right?
Exactly, but Cinnamon Toast Crunch actually made it. So
wow.
I was surprised too. And then the other thing is it had to be on sale. And so for him to look at the difference between what the retail price is and what the sale price, and then we would evolve as to looking how much you would actually be saving. And so also bringing it back to the junior achievement programs of, okay, is this something you really need or is it something you want? And so you need vegetables. You may want Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So again, another component with that. And then as the years have gone by, I've seen him evolved, and of course he has his own checking account, and I have him manage certain things. So when we would go on trips, we just came back from Disney World from the national conference.
Wow.
And so he also has a 5-year-old sister, and so while I was at conference, I would give him a budget of $50 a day for him to go and spend money and feed his sister while I was gone. He was able to manage that, and then I also had him download mint.com, so then he can also tie it to his bank account. So again, we're incorporating technology as well as the personal finance component.
Wow, well, that is cool. I'm going to take some notes off the air
Okay.
When we go to break, and we're going to have to leave our listeners hanging for just one moment. This is ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attilia Seress. Stay tuned. We'll be back after this break. I'm your host, Attilia Seress, and we're here with Roz Burton-Torres. She's the president of Junior Achievement of Hawaii, and we're talking about their next generation of technology learning programs meant for young children to help us here in Hawaii compete on the national and global platform that we're going to expect our young ones to go into when they do grow up. But before we jump back into that conversation, we have an announcement from our founder, Jay Fidel. Go ahead, take it away, Jay.
Thank you, Attilia. Thank you, Roz.
Thank you.
I want to jump in and tell you about the program we're doing next Thursday. We're coming close to that now. It's less than a week away. This is our monthly lunch and panel program at the Plaza Club. It starts at 11:30. It ends at 1:30. And this time is really kind of interesting. It's called Don't Be Afraid. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to send your kid or CEO to China. Stories of daring do and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness in the People's Republic. Exactly what it's like to be there. And we have a whole bunch of people who have been there and who are there right now who can tell us whether it's necessary, for example, to walk down the street with a gas mask in Beijing, okay? We need to know this. We have Larry Foster. He's a dean of the law school last time around, and he's a lawyer who has practiced for years, actually, in Shanghai. He's the moderator. His wife, Brenda Foster, who was the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Shanghai, should be on the panel. Shackley Raffetto, who just retired as Second Circuit judge in Maui and now teaches law and does moot court trials in Beijing for the Chinese. He really loves doing that. He's going to be on the panel. Derek Brow, a local tennis star, who actually took a master's degree in China before he finished his LLB. I mean, his undergraduate law degree here. So he's going to tell us what it's like to study in a Chinese school. And Miki Shishida used to work for DBED in China, trying to develop business connections with the state of Hawaii. Anyway, this is quite an interesting panel. They all have stories to tell. And we will have them tell those stories and show you whether or not to be afraid of sending your kid or CEO to China. Next Thursday, August 22nd at the Plaza Club. And you can sign up, you guys, at hvca.org. We'll see you there. It'll be great. Aloha.
Well, thank you, Jay. I appreciate that. I feel less afraid to go to China now. And of course, if you are listening online, then you already know this, but you can listen to our shows online. ThinkTechHawaii.com. There you will find links to our Ustream.tv live webcast. So you can, I'm going to wave to the camera now so you can see me. And on Spreaker.com, that's Spreaker.com. Those two websites are streaming our shows live and 24 hours, I believe, yeah. So we have these. We have a loop going, so if you miss any one of our shows, you can tune in and see what's playing. Also, if you want to join the conversation, ask a question, make a comment, our number here is area code 808-296-5467. And if you want to join us in our downtown studio, you can be a part of our audience. Just give Jay Fidel an email. His email address is jay@fidel.com. That's JAY@FIDELL.com. Great. Well, what were we talking about again? Education. That's right. You were telling me about how your son can now budget his $50 a day
food allowance.
That's a pretty good food allowance. That's a lot of food. And he uses mint.com, and he's now a teenager who's now learned the fundamentals of this program. But I like the idea of the technology component. Now, tell me a little bit about mint.com. What is that?
It's actually a free service that you can go and sign up for an account, and you just link your checking account or savings account. And then as you are making transactions, it'll link up to your checking account, and then you can categorize it. And then there's also an online budget. So at any given time with your smartphone, you can go into the app and see how you are doing in your budget and your balances, and it's real time. So.
Wow, and that is free. Okay. And how does that compare to, like, say, Quicken?
Quicken is more detailed, so Mint is really simple.
It's meant for kids, would you say?
I have my kid doing it, so yeah, I will say yes.
So if you have, like, say, a 10-year-old or higher, you can sign up for mint.com. If they have a smartphone, they should.
With the smartphone. I mean, you can do it on your own computer if you want, but teenagers are always on their phones. And
That's kind of perfect. All right, so mint.com.
I highly suggest it even for your own personal finances.
No, that sounds good. Well, I use Quicken and QuickBooks for
Do ya?
business, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But anything to make life easier, and especially as my kids are out there, because they're. I don't know, my oldest one is 4 years old, which means he's about 6 months from a smartphone, based on what I happen to see everywhere.
Exactly.
If not already, he's behind the times. So it's time to get him a $650 smartphone, right?
Wow.
That's how much they cost. Now, one of the things we had discussed, and I hope Lisa's going to be able to join us in the conversation at some point, but we wanted to talk about why schools are coming to you for this kind of assistance, and why are they coming to you for this kind of training, and what other training are we talking about here other than financial training for our children?
So with junior achievement, our main 3 areas is financial literacy, work readiness, and entrepreneurship. So all of our programs, K through 12, all focus on those core items. And so as you get into high school, it starts to be a little bit more specific, whether it's going to be on the entrepreneurship side, or else maybe the work readiness with our job shadows, or else specific to personal finance, learning about consumer credit and debt, and having better choices. And so with our programs, we actually go into the classrooms. The teachers request our programs, and then we match them up with a volunteer. And then they work together and they deliver the materials to the class. And so depending on the different programs, there are some CDs that the kids can even take with them that have software that again encourages the same 3 pillars that we focus on. So they can take that and also continue it even after the volunteers deliver that content.
Now, I believe that Lisa, we may have Lisa on the line also. Hey, Lisa, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Oh, great.
Perfect.
Well, thank you for joining us on ThinkTech. We appreciate you calling in.
It is absolutely my pleasure. And I am having such a blast sitting here in Colorado Springs, Colorado, watching you guys on the screen. So you look very nice in your tan brown shirt, and Roz in your purple shirt looks great.
Thank you.
And I was thinking, when you said earlier, you said, how can we connect? I thought, here you guys are, 4 hours away and how many thousands of miles, and I'm watching you. We're doing it right now. We are connecting via technology, and it's really great. So thank you for having me on.
Well, we appreciate it. Here at ThinkTech, we try to do things progressively. And so, we can broadcast. We are broadcasting actually just in Hawaii, but in terms of going onto the World Wide Web, that allows us a global audience. And that's one of the great things about the World Wide Web, is it allows us to connect with people that we wouldn't otherwise be able to connect with. And I think you're doing the same thing with your program, right?
That's exactly right. Yep. So we are actually just, our national board just approved in June what we call our education blueprint. And what we are going to be doing from this point forward is when we redevelop our programs, we're going to be developing it into a modular format featuring digital assets for kids. So we will be able to connect all of our kids across the United States. Currently, we have 4.4 million kids. Think about that. Think about kids all in the mainland and in Hawaii and in Alaska that can connect together and learn from each other through these new technologies that we're going to be putting in place through our programming. We are very excited about it.
This is called Digital Outfits, is that it?
No, the plan is called our Blueprint, and Blueprint Philosophy for 21st Century Learning, but Digital Assets, ASSETS, assets. So as we are redesigning and we're moving away from the print-based, a completely print-based material, we're going to be starting to design some of our lessons, which we're going to call mods, to be on things like that iPad that you're playing with during the commercial. I was watching you play with that iPad, and that's exactly what we want kids to do, because there is so much more interactive, personalized learning that kids can experience using digital technology.
Well, and why are we not doing this now?
Well,
Why did it take so long? Our kids here are suffering.
We don't look to the past, we only look to the future, and we're doing it now, so we're full force ahead.
Well, and so you're going to focus on these 3 goals, the personal finance, the work readiness, and entrepreneurship sections. Is that where you're trying to connect digitally?
Right. So our first program our legacy program is what we call the JA Company program. It was founded in 1919, actually by one of the co-founder of Junior Achievement was the CEO of AT&T, and he wanted to bring kids who were coming in from the farm into the city to give them some very practical business experience. And so the company program was formed by these business people who said, all right, kids, we're going to basically have like a club. We're going to teach you how to start a business. That has evolved over the years to our program now teaches kids from the beginning. So you want to be an entrepreneur, so you want to start a business. Here are the steps that you go through, and kids actually form businesses where they elect officers, they find a project, they find how they're going to fund their business, they sell their product, and then they go through all the steps from beginning to closing that product. That's called our JA Company program. We then hold this Company of the Year competition in Washington, D.C. every year where kids come and they do a trade show, they do marketing presentations. These are high school level kids. It's really a phenomenal experience, and this launches kids into the work world and gives them real live experience with a mentor. So that's our first program that we're going to be putting into the mod format where we're teaching kids, and we're going to be doing a lot of digital media on how to connect them with real life entrepreneurs. Folks that have done
I want to
this
hear
at
a
once.
little bit more about that, but we have to go to a break for just a moment. So I'm going to leave our audience hanging. Stay on the line, Lisa. We'll be right back, and you guys listening, stay tuned. You're listening to ThinkTech. Live, and you're listening to ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attilia Seress, here with Roz Burton-Torres. She's the president of Junior Achievement of Hawaii. And we also have Lisa Gill. She's the chief academic officer. She's joining us remotely from Colorado Springs, Colorado, in fact. And Lisa, are you still on the line?
I sure am.
Oh,
I'm with you.
Perfect. Well, when we last left the conversation, we were talking about some of the success that came out of the entrepreneurship wing of Junior Achievement. And during the break, Roz and I were talking about the success you've had with the Big Island program, which has been around for 20 plus years.
Yes.
And one of the success stories you'd mentioned that was a local success story was a Hawaiian Chip Company, Jimmy Chan. He
Yes.
came here and benefited from your program on the Big Island, came here later and started his business. And you said there was dozens more, lots.
Yes, and I'm trying to find more and more stories. So if any of your listeners are Junior Achievement students from the company program, we would love to hear about them and their stories and what they're doing now.
Yeah. Now, Lisa, do you have any stories from the mainland of, the next Facebook?
Was he a JA student?
Was he a JA student as well?
No, I don't have any leads on that yet, but I did love talking to all of the kids, like at the Company Deer program in DC. They were so excited, and some of the things the kids had come up with as their products were really amazing. In fact, on the back of my cell phone, I'm using one of the products the kids thought of, and it's a little thing that holds your driver's license and credit card, so you can have it all in one place. And it's just really great to see the ingenuity these kids come up with.
Mm-hmm.
And so have any of these, do you have a big success story, a poster child? Do you have a Jared, as Subway has a Jared, for Junior Achievement?
Mm-hmm.
I think we lost Lisa.
Oh,
no.
I'm here. Sorry, I thought you were asking.
Processing,
Rob, I
buffering.
You know what's really fun? I wouldn't say that we have a poster child. I'd say that we have a poster team. We have lots of folks, successful business people who have been Junior Achievement alums, and it's just great to always hear, for instance, the guy on the Shark Tank who owns the Dallas Mavericks is a Junior Achievement alum. There are several other examples.
Mark Cuban, sure.
Of folks just like, yes.
Cuban,
just like
reading
that.
his book. It should have been longer. The guy was lazy. I don't know. That's not a good example there. He said, I'm going to write a book, so he sampled his blog entries. It's like 40 pages. It's misleading. It's not a book. Got to read Kevin O'Leary's. At least this is got a little bit more meat on it, or Barbara's even. Yeah. So Mark Cuban is a Junior Achievement alum. Right on. There you go. He's
Right. And you were saying one other story. I just want to tell you, it was really great when I first came to Junior Achievement. Not great that I lost my luggage on a flight, but when I went to Denver and I had to go to the baggage claim, and I was giving the lady my card, and she got really excited. She's about a 40-year-old woman. She got really excited. She says, Junior Achievement changed my life. And I'm looking at this woman like I'm just smiling for I lost bags. That's amazing. And she said, when I was in high school, I was the first one from my family to graduate from high school, and my mentor really inspired me to get involved in the business community. And do you know that mentor is still keeping tabs on me today, just checking in with me, seeing how I'm doing? And it was really something that was very influential. And I kind of looked at her and I thought, well, that's really cool. You're working for this airlines. And she said, let me give you my real card. And she was actually an attorney with her own law firm in Denver. And so she said that was what gave her the inspiration to go forward. So that sealed the deal for me. I mean, here's this random woman in an airport, and our program had changed her life. That was awesome.
Well, that's really nice to hear, and probably good to know not to practice law in Denver. You're probably not going to get much work. You probably have to work as a baggage recovery person. But it's good to be out touching lives. Now, tell me a little bit about work readiness. So we'll switch gears from entrepreneurship. What kind of things do you guys do on the mainland that we can do here? Because work readiness, by some Hawaiian standards, can be a variety of things. A lot of it is trade. Do you guys prepare people in the trade fields, or do you do other things?
Oh, we absolutely do. So one of the things that we are very interested in, I'm sure you've heard a lot about Common Core standards, and and Hawaii is a Common Core state, so having adopted those standards. And one of the things that the Common Core standards focus on is college and career readiness. So what does it mean? And we all know what being college ready means. That means your GPA, your SAT, whatever. Folks are having a really hard time defining what career ready means. So this is a place that Junior Achievement has stepped in to begin to define that. We just published a white paper talking about the ways that our programs help kids figure out what is it that they want to do. We have a wide variety of different programs, from graduation pathways to some of these immersive experiences like Roz said. For instance, on the mainland, we have our finance parks where kids actually come in and they go throughout the entire park, and they get a scenario. So here's your name, here's you're married, you're 43 years old, married, and you make $50,000 a year. Now go and make all these financial decisions. And the kids actually go to these different businesses. It's kind of like Disneyland, Main Street Disneyland, where they walk in and they negotiate contracts and they mortgages and cars, and at the end of the day, they find out whether they were successful or whether they put enough money away for retirement and college and investments, or whether they went bankrupt. So those types of immersive experiences are very unique and best in class that we offer here.
Well, and that's that's a good preparation. I remember even when I was in fourth grade or something like that, we had like pretend like you're moving out. What do you need for an apartment? Here's your budget of $1,000. Go get yourself, wine glasses, and well, you're moving out. It's got to be wine glasses and
toilet paper.
Toilet paper. Cereal. So the work readiness that prepares them for the real world. Are we doing anything like that here in Hawaii? The answer should be yes.
We have our programs that definitely go through the work readiness, and then we also have a lot of our job shadows. So in essence, we actually work with companies locally, and we ask them if we can bring our kids into their organizations, and we try to look at it across different industries. And they let us know how many kids that they can have at their facility, and we really want them to get the feel and actually sit with somebody who has the job that they want. And really have those questions as to a back and forth question of, what do you like? What do you don't like about this job? What do you do every day? What does it mean to be an architect? What does that day look like? And so either the kids are assimilating certain things, or else they're actually in there doing those particular jobs. So depending on the industry, of course.
And so architecture, so do the kids, after shadowing a real architect or someone that they want to emulate, do they ever change their mind afterwards?
Sometimes they do.
Really?
Yeah. It's like, oh, maybe I don't want to do that. And that's so important. Instead of, thinking that you want to be an architect this whole time and then go to school, and then when you finally get done with all your schooling, you actually sit down and you're actually doing the work and realize you don't like it. Obviously, even in college, you hear kids always changing their majors. Well, they're trying to figure out what they want to do. And with junior achievement programs, we actually, if a child has junior achievement succinctly through all the years that they have schooling, they have that instilled with them. So they have it more narrowed down as to what they like based off of what their interests are and what they love doing versus what outside influences might be telling them to be.
Well, all I know is that my 4-year-old wants to be an astronaut, fireman, policeman.
Okay.
So your hands would be full taking him back and forth between these different places.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you getting any sort of pushback, or what's your barriers here? What are your obstacles? In this third part of the program, we kind of like to talk about some of the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So do you have any sort of administration or resistance to these kind of programs?
Locally with our programs, we actually have a long history of junior achievement in our schools. And I think what tends to be a bit of a pushback on the education side is if we're going into a new school or we're expanding it, not necessarily into a new grade, because we do have some schools that do all of grade 3 or all of grade 5. Once we get into middle school and high school, it's a little bit more of a challenge because the timing is a little bit different, and sometimes it could be even a challenge for us to even find volunteers to cater to that age group.
So are you using any sort of technology in the work readiness program, the one that you're expanding?
So we do have a program where it actually talks about their different ideas of what they like to do, and it kind of narrows them down. So personality test, if you will.
Okay.
If you are
Myers-Briggs?
outgoing, yeah, similar to Myers-Briggs, yes. So then it helps them identify certain jobs that they may not necessarily know was available to them, but based off of their personality.
So you use electronic testing to be able to put them in the right place, and then you take that and you try to enter into new spaces with the results of those tests. And then we're going to talk a last bit about personal finance, digital learning, online volunteers, all that exciting stuff. That's the big future portion of our show. We're going to get to that right after this break. Stay tuned. You're listening to ThinkTech Friday. Back. We're live, and you're listening to ThinkTech Friday. I'm your host, Attilia Seress. We're here on the We're here in our studio. We have Roz Burton-Torres. She's the president of Junior Achievement of Hawaii. And from beautiful Colorado Springs, Colorado, we have the chief academic officer for Junior Achievement, Lisa Gill. I'm not sure if she's still on the line there. Lisa, you still there?
I am.
And she's tuned in live, and you're loving to see us in on your TV screen. We're streaming live on Ustream.com. And
That's great.
in this last segment of the show, we wanted to talk about the future and where Junior Achievement is going to be the leveling factor to equalizing Hawaii's education system with that of the rest of the United States. Would you agree? Tell us all your secrets. How are you going to make Hawaii just as good as the rest of the country using technology?
Excellent. So I've been reflecting on some of the conversations so far, and one of the things that we are launching already in our digital media is our apps for kids. So one of them is a career success app where the kids will go in and actually run an amusement park. So this will be available to kids everywhere within the United States, including Hawaii. Our vision is to create a learning atmosphere that will be housed on what we call a learning management system. And these kids will connect from all over the United States. So kids from Hawaii will be able to actually to interact and go into projects and workshops and seminars with kids on the mainland, all through digital means. We're building a digital library where we'll have videos and we'll have activities and games and simulations and all of that in the learning management system that kids will, from all over the United States, will have access to. So I am we are a very strong believer in digital media being the great equalizer. So it connects, it provides communication, connection, tools for kids, and we're going to be focusing in those three areas that we focus on of entrepreneurship, work readiness, and financial literacy.
Well, so tell me, obviously those tools sound great, but those are all automated. What kind of personal connectivity can we expect? One of the things we had mentioned, Roz had mentioned, was that we could have tutors from New York mentoring our young people here in Hawaii, or we can have online volunteers for all kinds of stuff. Tell me about that.
Yes, exactly. So that's one of our initiatives that we're working on right now, our digital volunteers and our online volunteers. So we are moving into a blended model where we have face-to-face, like the traditional classroom, all the way to an online volunteer. That will be housed through a virtual classroom. So we envision having kids come into a classroom together with a mentor or a volunteer that they see through the computer. That person will have a webcam. It's real live. It's interactive. So I can give if you and I are working on a project together and I'm in Colorado, you're in Hawaii, you can be even typing on a Word document and you can pass it over to me and I can type on it and we can see in real time. There's a whiteboard. We can write on the whiteboard so we can interact together. We can bring hundreds of kids together from multiple states, all looking at the same issues, the same problems, divide them up into little classrooms within the virtual classroom. So I can take a child from Hawaii, from Colorado, from New York, from Georgia, and we can put them in one classroom where they can work on the same problems together and bring in their regional information. So those are all the things that we're working on.
And have you heard of MOOCs?
I have heard of MOOCs.
Massive open online courses?
That's correct.
That is a fantastic thing, yeah. And Stanford, MIT, I believe they both started doing this. So would you say that that's the next step to this, to your program?
It's like that. We definitely will be creating online activities and online courses is part of our dream in the next couple of years. So our first step is to get the funding program in the mods, and then in year 2, our goal is to create our first online course. So a MOOC is a type of online course. Ours will be a little bit different than that. MOOCs have thousands of people in them at once. Ours will be a little bit more selective, so you actually have to register and be a student in the program. So it won't be open like it is like MOOCs are. But the concept's the same.
Same idea. So everything's moving online. So really our students here, at the end, the more we get online, the further away we get from the traditional education system here in Hawaii, the more they get educated, right? Would you say, Roz?
Well, it depends on what kind of education. Because when it comes to content, having the content online and being able to stop and pause if needed or interact with a different perspective. But there's also the education that is face-to-face and also the soft skills that our kids need as well. So that they do know how to look at somebody in the eye when you're talking to them, and when somebody hands you a card, just certain etiquette that you still need face-to-face and person-to-person.
So manners. So we can learn manners from our Hawaii teachers and everything else online. Is that what I'm getting here?
I think it's a little bit more than that, but
well, that's we got to come up with some answers here, because I know my kids, we face some real challenges putting our kids into the education system, and I want them to go to college. And I think you'd heard about some of the my complaints when we were talking on the phone before the show, but there's a lot of different things that happen in the school system here that don't happen on the mainland. There's a grammatic curve that some kids have to overcome when entering the mainland. There's a lot of different things. So if you feel that moving the education, the content, the interaction, the learning online is the future, is the only way that we're going to be able to compete with the mainland, then so be it. So is that your stance?
I would say part of what we had talked about the grammatical component of it and the differences between mainland and Hawaii, just like with any other part of the country, there's different cultures, and having that and seeing the differences. So I think of that as actually a good thing, because if many of our Hawaii students, when they go to the mainland, usually they're pretty shocked of the differences. But then it also teaches them to be flexible and to adapt versus having it the same across the country, because other parts of the country are not all the same. You go to somebody in New York, if you don't hurry up and move over, you will get run over, versus over somebody in California where they're a little bit more lax, and then you come to Hawaii and boy, it's really relaxed.
Well, and having an electronic student base where they can all communicate in the same space, that's a way to overcome those obstacles ahead of time, so they understand it. Wouldn't you agree, Lisa?
Absolutely. And part of my background experience, I've been doing this for about 15 years and run schools all across the United States and online schools. And one of the things that really sold me on this concept was, again, the blend of face-to-face human interaction and digital technology. And we used to have all school assemblies where we'd have 400 or 500 kids from all across the United States, and we were able to get people like an Olympic gold medalist that would come on and be the guest, and all of these kids were in together and able to ask questions and interact with that one guest that we could never have done in just a single site-based school setting. So it has tons of opportunity as well as that connectivity.
Well, and that is perfect. That's exactly what I like to hear. In fact, I'm going to add one more thing that you guys haven't even mentioned, which is you guys are teaching our children financial literacy, personal finance, right?
Yes.
What is the leading cause of divorce? There you go.
Financial
Money problems. So you guys are helping our next generation stick together with their partners. That's pretty cool, huh?
We're changing lives.
You're changing lives. Isn't that neat? Well, thank you so much, you guys, for coming on the air. And we really appreciate all the time you spent with us here at the studio. And before prepping for the show, really appreciate that. And of course, if you missed any part of this program, be sure to visit our website, thinktechhawaii.com. That website is thinktechhawaii.com. Thank you both for coming.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, really appreciate it.
Thank
Of course,
you so much.
And if they want to find out anything more about your program, where do they go? What website?
So our local website is jahawaii.org, and that's
JA.
where yes, and that's where people can register if you're a teacher, to register for a class, or else if you want to be involved and register as a volunteer.
Oh, perfect. And of course, maybe they can give you some success stories later.
Absolutely. We're looking for those JA alums.
JA alums, like
We want to hear your stories.
There we go. And so, of course, my name is Attilia Seress. I'm the host for ThinkTech Friday. Thank you to our chief engineer, Jack Waters. Our account manager is Patrick Leonard. Board operator, Leah Rodriguez. I know you're listening. Thank you for taking care of us today. And Jay Fidel, he's the founder of ThinkTech. His passion makes ThinkTech possible. And thank you for listening. We'll be back next Friday, but be sure to tune in on Monday with more ThinkTech. Remember to appreciate life, do good to others, and have a great weekend. Aloha.
Aloha.